Welcome to the Savvy Safety Sisters Partner in Prevention podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Pasquarello of Global Secure Resources. Now, we know one of the best ways to make a difference in preventing harm is to bring stories from around the world in hopes of bringing awareness to help keep you and your family safe. We want to empower our listeners with education and advocacy by experts. And so today, we're going to discuss a disease called CADASIL. This is an important topic as it affects families worldwide and is often misdiagnosed, sometimes with MS. So let's welcome my guest, Michael Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining me today, Michael.
You're welcome, Gary. No problem.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start off by having you explain what CADASIL is and a little bit about your journey.
Okay. CADASIL is a neurovascular disease. It shrinks the arteries within your brain. So it leads to stroke, dementia, um, just all different neurological disorders. So I had never heard of this before I was diagnosed. So I had a stroke at the age of 47. No signs up front of it, no symptoms, anything like that. I went to breakfast with my two daughters and just wasn't feeling right. And we just kind of sat there and it just kept getting worse. We eating breakfast. My older daughter just kind of looked at me. She's very good at picking up something's wrong with me. And she's just like, "Are you all right?" And I'm just like, "No, there's just something doesn't feel right." And I laid down on the floor in a bit of a Cracker Barrel. And ironically enough, they had a big motorcade event this weekend near where we live. So actually, these people kind of came running over to the table next to us. It turned out it was a registered nurse and a bunch of paramedics who were going home after their motorcycle motorcade, and people were screaming out, they're saying all these things. The one RN just said, "Stop! I'll just handle this." She took total control of the situation. I was at the hospital within 40 minutes. And it turns out I did have a stroke. And my mother's medical history, because this seemed really weird that I was only 47, no signs, had the stroke. My dad brings in my mother's big gargantuan pile of stuff from her medical history because she died at 45 for no real reason, just kind of got signs of dementia at like 43 and just within 2 years was gone. And my nurse practitioner read all the details. And unlike everybody else who I hear about with CADASIL, it takes years in some cases to find out you have CADASIL. My nurse practitioner looked at it, and this was June of 2015. He read it, came back in the next day, said, "I think it's CADASIL." So of course, we had no idea what that was at the time. And he was actually absolutely on target. And I was actually diagnosed, tested within a few weeks, and within 6 weeks, I had a confirmed diagnosis. So he was kind of like, "Well, it's good news and bad news. It's good news. Your mom probably had this. And this is, she inherited it from her." And I'm like, "Yeah, where's the good news?" Because that's just like, this is bad news. And we kind of read up on it quickly. And I'm thinking, all right, she was 45 and died. I'm now 47 already. So I'm on, borrowed time already. So the initial shock of it was, this is terrifying. This is awful. What my life is going to be done. My one daughter was about 13. My other one was in college. I'm like, this can't end now. I'm not ready for this. That's kind of where we started.
Right. Well, I'm so sorry for the loss of your mother, but I need to mention, thank goodness for the bystander intervention that was
Absolutely.
there for you. That's heroic of these people to step up and really take control and get you the care that you needed
Yeah.
immediately. And so we can be truly thankful for that. Now, how has this impacted your life since finding out this diagnosis?
Well, after the initial diagnosis and kind of the fear went away a little bit. My wife did lots of research on it. I short term didn't want to research on it. I just wanted to try to get better. But then the realistic part is it was going to be there forever. My kids, when I share that too, it's a 50-50 chance my kids will have it. They have not been tested yet, but as they get older, so at least they're aware of it. Um, but how to change my major thing is just the byproducts of having a stroke. So my left side is partially disabled. I can't move quickly, anything like that. I don't have a lot of the other symptoms that CADASIL patients can have, which I do have migraines of the world, but only maybe 2 or 3 a year. Some people have them 2 or 3 every day. I had so my physical gait isn't the same. so far. I've been in a test. I've been in a study with NIH in Washington, D.C. I went once a year for 3 years. Now I go every 3 years. They do a whole bunch of testing just to see what the progression is and what the changes are. And so far, I've not had any other major problems.
Yeah. And I have a question for you. When we talk about migraines with ORs, can you explain that a little bit for somebody that has never had a migraine before?
Yeah, and it's funny because it was actually looking back before I had all of this. I was at work one day leading a conference call. I started stuttering on words. I knew what I was reading was not, I was not saying what the words on the screen were. I knew that for sure. And one of the people asked me a question, and I started giving an answer. I'm going, I don't even know what I'm saying to them. So I passed the conference call to somebody else. Had some like one of my workers come in. I said, "Can you just listen to me for a second?" And she started listening to, what are you saying? I said, "I'm not sure," but suddenly my lip was going numb, things like that. She's rushing me to the hospital on my way there. It's my daughter's second birthday. I knew that. I had no idea what my daughter's name was. I couldn't tell you. Just your mind just starts doing weird things. And then what I get is a vision. It almost looks like a ripple in my vision, and almost like a portal to somewhere. I get that, and usually once I get even a little bit of that, I can take some medicine, and mine fortunately go down pretty well. But it's like I said, sometimes I can speak fine and everything, but there's always that visual sign. Um, and I've learned to manage it pretty well, but I know like some of these other people, like I said, will have it all day long, and they're on 10 different medications trying to control it and things like that. I've been kind of blessed in that sense.
Sure. That's really great that you're able to manage that so well. Um, I have a question for you. What are some of the misconceptions around CADASIL that you could help our listeners understand a little bit better?
I would hope, like I said, initially, it's terrible. If you go on the website and read what can happen and the average ages and stuff that you're thinking it's a death sentence. And for some people, unfortunately, it really is. They go downhill quickly or they suffer terribly every day. But I would hope that with things like this, that they can see there is some hope. And if they kind of go to some of the websites and learn about what different people are doing, that you learn. Let's say you learn to manage what's going on. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
There's,
There's always fun interruptions with
yeah.
podcasts, so no worries whatsoever. But back to misconceptions.
No. Right. So the misconceptions, I said, that's kind of a death sentence right away, and you're going to die within 5 years or 10 years or whatever. And again, in some cases that is very accurate. But there's other people that are 80 years old that have no symptoms. That's the weirdness of the disease. You can have siblings. My brother, one brother has it, one does not, and we have pretty different symptoms and things like that. But yeah, some people live forever with nothing, and others it's just traumatic right from the beginning. And it's usually kind of a balance of each. But as I said, we just kind of see what other people are doing, how other people are living. There's good support groups where people looking, you can ask anything you want. So I think there is some hope there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's what's so important is making sure that we have awareness where people can go and search for, others that have gone through the same type of situation, family members, siblings, things like that. We really want to make this space a really great open space for others to seek knowledge and information. Now, with the misconceptions sometimes and the misdiagnosis, in fact, with MS, have you met other individuals with CADASIL that have been misdiagnosed with MS?
I haven't met anyone yet, but I mean, the different supports I you see it all the time. A lot of people with MS are misdiagnosed, and they end up on MS meds and things like that for years and years and years that don't progress or anything. And for whatever reason, they'll finally meet a neurologist. Like, well, let's test for this. And there's a lot of cases where all of a sudden, where it was CADASIL the whole time and not MS.
Right. And what about resources for let's say support systems? What's your support system look like?
In terms of family and friends, or just even like where I go to look stuff up?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Actually, I've been involved in a couple of studies. Like I said, the NIH study. I volunteered a lot with Cure CADASIL, doing about 20 different fundraisers to raise that funds over time. but there's great, and I'm on the Jan Zuckerberg Institute study, and I'm on the board there. So I've met other families through that, and that's the best thing. You kind of get comfortable with, learning what other people have gone through, things like that. And there's some amazing families in terms of the fundraising. I know there's one family out in Colorado, the Carney family, who is their one brother, wife, and then their kids. So I mean, they're older, but but there's like 10 brothers that do this huge fundraiser every year, and they've raised, I think, like $250,000 for this. So there's people
Wow.
really trying to. And when I look at what they're doing, I'm like so impressed. And then to see like the other, if you even go on the support pages like on Facebook, there's some people who just live and do all the research on the medical side of this. So that's that side of it, which I can't follow the medical side very well, but there's people that are saying this is a study I learned. This is what people have said, maybe try to do this or that. And then you do hear about all the studies that are happening now. There's like 4 or 5 I know of right now that are starting to develop. So
Yeah, that's amazing. We'll have to list those under our description of our conversation because people will want to reach out to these other fundraisers and really seek this information from other areas. Now,
right.
I have a really big question for you is how do you navigate discussing CADASIL with, let's say, friends, families, and healthcare professionals? Because from what I understand is sometimes people will go in, they have been diagnosed with CADASIL, and yet the doctors that they're working with, it's the first time that they've ever heard of
Yeah.
CADASIL. Share a little bit about that.
That's the challenge, because even my own neurologist, when I had this, knew the term, but I've been had him for a few years, but really just like, well, there's not much we can do. And that's that. And like you kind of really just fight for yourself. And if they're just saying, no, that's too rare, that can't be it, keep pushing, because a lot of times they just won't run the test. I mean, then, you waste all this time not knowing what it is. But I have no issue at all being wide open about it and telling people what it is. I've got some stuff in my shop where we have clients all the time. We've got some things, like I said, my fundraisers are always focused on this. So I share with all of them what I have, and
Yeah.
they'll start asking questions. I even had a gentleman the other day saying, I'm a physician, I've never heard of that. And so you can reach out to doctors that just like things. Now that you kind of say what it is, he goes, oh, I've heard the word, but he had no idea what it was.
Right.
So you really just have to be your own advocate, really push if you don't feel like what you're getting is right. But I had another client here who's had a lot of things with migraines and different disorders. And she actually got tested for CADASIL through my neurologist too, because just as we talked about it, and she talked to her neurologist, they were like, well, we can try it. And unfortunately for her, she did not.
Right.
But just in that discussion, it was just a chance of something somebody's never heard of, and then going to get checked and hopefully, helping her out.
Sure. Wow, that's really incredible. Now, let's talk about some of the treatments or strategies that you found helpful in managing your condition. It seems to me that you're healthy, and it seems like you're not having too many symptoms. But as you go forward, how are you planning on, or what do you do right now to really manage like your
So I don't really. I'm on like a multivitamin and cholesterol medicine. The cholesterol medicine technically really got nothing to do with CADASIL. That was like a
right?
pre-existing thing like that.
Yeah.
I do do work with a trainer twice a week to keep physically fit, and we're always just no heavy weights, but just working on like keeping everything as limber as we can, and just moving the body and just staying, constant moving. You got to keep giving it, because if you give up, that's it. Because that's one of the other side effects, right? Because I am physically, I get very tired very quick, and fatigue is something that's very common too. But I can't just lull into, all right, I'm on the couch, I'm just going to stay here, because I know what happens if I don't work out for a while. It's days of just sort of moving, just being able to walk down the driveway is hard to do. Where at least I'm limber and staying loose and just kind of keeping my mind going too. That's a help. But they do just say that the physical side of it, just doing whatever you can to keep going, is
Right.
definitely a bonus. So I'd recommend that. Um,
And I'm sure that helps also with mental health, exercise,
Absolutely.
keeping good and keeping your spirits high, and, that mental fitness, I think, is
Right.
probably key, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's true.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, what advice would you give others who may be living with CADASIL or supporting somebody else with CADASIL? Do you have like two
um,
pieces of advice you
prob-
would share?
Probably the mental side of it is just if you're having a terrible day, tell somebody you're having a terrible day. And if they're support, I mean, if your support person having a terrible day, kind of step back and realize, all right, they're going through this with you, and that you guys your mental health is dramatically important. But it's just a matter of like, I know when I'm having a bad day, I just kind of step back for a while. Just if I need a nap, I just take a nap. It doesn't matter when it is. I'll be at work. Unfortunately, we own a family-owned business, so I can do this where I can just say, yeah, I'm going home. Goodbye. I'll be back in a couple hours. But I
Yeah.
think that's it. If you're not feeling great, don't overdo it. Because like even to me, like we do have a weekend of events. If I do like 2 days with our grandkids and stuff, by the third day, I'm just wiped out. And
Right.
so I don't, I just plan that day to be a quiet day and just to hang out. But I think that's important. Getting have to get to know your own body now because it's different than it used to be, and just know when things, aren't the same. And sometimes I mean, there's little things that will happen. I'll be concerned, oh, is this another, the sign of something? And then usually like half an hour later, I'm fine. But so I do get anxious about things still.
Yeah.
That I used to be very anxious. I'm more anxious than I used to be, but I got good at knowing when this stuff feels like it's coming on, then it's just time to take a break.
Sure. Yeah. Keeping, really connected into your own mental health, what you're needing,
Yeah,
what you're feeling, and being able to communicate that to your family, friends, and others is huge.
right,
And the same with them, being able to communicate back with you as well. So that's
right.
really, really important to stress. Now, are there any specific goals or advocacy efforts that you're involved related to CADASIL? And I have to mention, you are an author of so many books. So I really want to talk about these books and your advocacy work.
Okay.
So share, share, share.
So I'll start with just some of the different fundraisers. I mean, I've done a lot locally here, like we do, minor league baseball teams and hockey teams. We just have a night there, and you're usually good about it. You buy 100 tickets and then get $10 per ticket goes to your cause. Done a lot of things like that, or even board and brush nights, which is I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like a do-it-yourself night where you go paint signs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing there. So the cost of the client and companies near me are terrific when I just see what they do, and it's an easy thing. We literally go there, paint your thing, and they get a percentage of whatever people you bring in. So those are quick and easy ways. There's really not a lot of stress on doing the raise funds. But yeah, so my main thing is I've actually found out that I'm an author and I've written 4 children's books. We own a dog kennel and a grooming business. And one day I was taking care of one of the dogs, and he in his room would not eat his breakfast unless I sat down with him and drank coffee. So I had to drink my coffee with him because I could literally, put him back in his room to eat. And I'd go do something else, come back, and he wouldn't eat. So one day I just sat down with him and drank his coffee. He just ate all his food up. So that gave me an idea of, well, what if I wrote a story about that? And I've always liked to write. I've always, one of those, oh, I'm going to write my book someday, blah, blah. You never do. And so this popped like, well, let me just see if I can do this. And the story just came so quickly, and I just wrote it in a few days. And then a friend of ours is a really, really talented illustrator, and she said she would help me out and do it. But so one book ended up now being 4. I'm working on a 5th for the holidays. But so they're all based on dogs, and actually all of them have been clients of ours. They're all dog-based stories, although there's a bunch of other animals in some of them. And so all the proceeds from the books I sell go directly to different CADASIL awareness and research groups.
That's amazing. You are really keeping busy and are a fabulous example for everybody out there to, keep moving, keep doing what you're doing, and stay positive and strong. And I know we're at the end of our day right now, so I want to ask, do you have any last words that you'd like to share with our audience?
Just like I said, it's not a death sentence. You don't just give up because you got this terrible thing. Just fight as much as you can. Enjoy, every little thing, and try to enjoy things every day. And so, we can always say the future and stuff. Well, now the future is kind of rocky. So, just if you can just enjoy every little thing, even so 5 minutes at a mall somewhere, just because you were able to go out that day and do something. They're all victories and everything. And there's always hope. I mean, I know research is slow, and it's not going to be cured tomorrow. But maybe my goal is probably not in my lifetime, but I do all this because of my 2 daughters. I want them to have not to worry about it. And if they get a cure, they don't have to worry about their kids down the road. So just like, I know it's small, and hopefully there'll be enough people because of their own advocacy that the real numbers of CADASIL, I know this sounds bad, will grow, but we need more people to be diagnosed to help get more research, get more funding, things like that. But just don't give up.
Right. Oh, that's some really great advice. So thank you so much, Michael, for
You're
joining me
welcome.
today. Now, currently there is no cure for CADASIL, and this is why awareness is so critical. We need more research, and we hope one day there will be a cure. Until
Right.
then, we need to focus on supportive care, including emotional support and counseling, which is very helpful for those affected and their families and those that are taking care of them. So to learn more about this disease and other information about dementia and Alzheimer's and the rest, you can go to National Organization for Rare Disorder, and you can find that at raredisease.org. And also there's Medline Plus, where you can find trusted health information. I'll make sure to add that in the information of this recording, but also I'll include the information about how to find Michael's books. So this will be really, oh, this is great.
That's one of
Show
them
the
right
book.
there.
I love that book. That's amazing. Okay, do you have another one right there with you?
I do have one more right. I have to the floor here. So
Oh, fabulous. Now, these are awesome stories. So we cannot wait to get those, read them, and support you and your mission of supporting others with CADASIL. So that's it for today, but we'll be back for another episode to increase public awareness about topics faced by citizens in their daily life, whether traveling the world or the corner. And be sure to visit us at globalsecurestudent.com for more information about our community awareness and prevention programs. And don't forget to hit that follow button and subscribe. We'll see you on our next podcast. Thank you.
thank you.